right, boys and girls. We got to fix some video capture stuff here. So some settings. Hang on with me just a minute. There we go. Hey, there's that. That works. All right. You got me in the lower right-hand corner here. And the display capture, let's fix that. I'm doing it down in the basement because, believe it or not, oh my God, woo, we got some weird stuff here. I'll see if I can figure that out as we go along, but let's try to capture. Anyway, this is Pics from Quarantine. I'm down in the basement. Pics from Joe's. My apologies for the weird lighting and everything. You know, the wife's home, so I get sent to the basement. I don't know if I can fix anything here. You're just gonna have to deal with that. Let me see if I can fix the display to any extent here. If I do that, and let's see if we can do something. I don't know if we can do anything to that. So anyway, what are we gonna do? We have no sports. You see me tweet a little bit about the Australian rules football. That's gotten going, but there's no fans. There's a pretty good chance that's going to get shut down here pretty quickly. So I don't know how long that's going to last. And then, I mean, we're literally going to have no sports. There's going to be zero distraction from the nonsense. So what do we do, right? What do we do? Well, guess what? I have stumbled upon an absolutely spectacular, let's see if I can get this up here. All right, I've stumbled upon an absolutely spectacular distraction. Okay, if I can get into it. Oh, my phone hasn't dropped the files there. Are you kidding me? Let's see what we got here. Bear with me, people. I'm dealing with technology now, damn it. Because if I share all those, right? I'm going to share all of these. If we share them in Google Drive, and I have to tell it where to put it, which I thought I did before. Save. Preparing to upload. All right. So hopefully these things will show up. So I've discovered something. There's a show, Guy Fieri, who everybody knows from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, I think is the name of the show. And it's just fantastic. Like, let's put it this way. The premise of the show is much like March Madness, okay? So that you have the ability, let me get rid of that. I don't want to do that. You have the ability to essentially have like March Madness, right? For chefs. Well, obviously when they figured the show out, there was probably some trepidation. There was probably some trepidation for, you know, is this really going to make it? Because it was happening during the time of March Madness, okay? It was happening during March Madness. And, yeah, I've got all kinds of crap going on here. It was happening during March Madness, so, you know, who knows who's going to watch it, right? You know, a lot of people are going to be watching basketball. Well, then all of a sudden basketball goes poof. There's no basketball. So what happens is now this show, which has kind of a March Madness feel to it, has no competition. Okay, so essentially what they've done, let's see if I can get it back up here. I don't understand why this isn't loading these files. You know what? Let's put this on. Let's put the Wi-Fi on. Maybe it's a setting I haven't turned on. And let's see what we get here. It's a challenge of technology, people. All right, so we're going to do that again. We're going to try it again. Whoops. We'll try it again. Let's share to our drive. And gotta bear with me. I thought I did this before. Oh, there we go. Maybe it's going now. So essentially what it is, I'll start explaining it while hopefully the files are uploading. Okay. So what Guy Fieri did is they picked 16 chefs. Oh, here we go. So things are uploading now. So they picked 16 chefs, okay, and they divvied them up between the East and the West Coast. So essentially you have 2 brackets, okay? So you know how the March Madness has 4 brackets? You've got the Midwest and the Southwest and Southeast and all that kind of stuff. So you have 2 brackets here, all right? And there are 8 chefs in each bracket. They're seeded 1 through 8, and they were picked and seeded based on their winning like cooking competitions already, like on TV, online cooking competitions, and then also their general reputation in the business. Okay, so they had them ranked East and West 1 through 8, and let's see if I can bring up the there you go. So there's the bracket. I don't know if you guys are seeing this. Let's yeah, I think if I pull that up you're seeing it, right? So if that's up, I don't know if you're seeing that. Let's see if we can figure this out. We're doing that business again. So let's see if we can set this still only, it's still only giving me that. So I'm going to hope that you guys are seeing this. All right, so message me, ping me on Twitter if you're not seeing the bracket right here. So this is the Tournament of Champions. You can see you have West and you have the East. You have 1 through 8. All right, so 1 versus 8, 4, 5, 3, 6. So classic, this is a classic bracket matchup, high seed versus low seed stuff. If anybody's watching, ping me on Twitter right now if you're seeing this. All right, do me a favor, ping me on Twitter if you're seeing this. Are you seeing this? All right, let me know. Maybe even on the YouTube thing. I think it allows comments. Are you seeing this? You got to let me know if you're seeing this. If you're seeing the Tournament of Champions. If you let me know, then I can fire away here. Okay? Come on, guys. What do you got? Anybody watching? This is going to be something if nobody's watching. Okay? Somebody chime in. I know I'm live on YouTube, for crying out loud. And I don't need Cowboys Ride for free to retweet me. And yes, I've had, ooh, the door's creaking around. I've had a little bit of scotch. Anybody see that? I'm not quite sure. I think this is monkey shoulder. I've been rationing my scotch The Tullibardine that my friend brought me, it turns out he didn't bring it to me. He bought it at the store next door. So it's not from the UK, but it's really good. So I've been rationing. So what I've been doing is having not more than one glass of scotch from the same bottle on the same night, right? So I'm spacing it out, okay? So hang on here. Let's get rid of that work thing. Anybody want to freaking tweet at me? Hang on, let me check the Slack chat. I'm going to check Slack and see if anybody is messaging me on Slack. Nobody's messaging me. Somebody tell me you're seeing the Tournament of Champions bracket right here. Can somebody tell me that? Anybody? Anybody out there? Hello? Hello? I got people retweeting this, pics from quarantine. I hope everybody's okay. I'm in Connecticut. We were just put on lockdown tonight, and it's the shelter in place, right? So you're still able to go out. You need to go to the gas station and get gas for the car. You want to go to the grocery store. We've been told that restaurants can still be open to serve curbside pickup. So that is considered, I guess, essential services. So anyway, come on, people. You can't all be doing something. No, well, go Pitt. What are you doing, Cowboys Ride for Free? Are you seeing my stream here? Are you seeing my bracket? Are you seeing the whole bracket, guys? Somebody give me a heads up. I don't want to waste everybody's time talking about this if you can't see the bracket, because I've got some images uploaded that I want to share with everybody. Okay. And there you go. See, I'm ready to share. If you guys can see the bracket of the Tournament of Champions, somebody chime in and let me know if you can see this. Live streaming here. Nobody's commenting. I love it. All right. What the heck? Somebody give me a heads up. Okay. Somebody give me a heads up. Are you seeing me? Are you hearing me? Let's see if we tweet this. Let's try this. Maybe folks will respond. All right. Hold on. I may be able to see this here. Look at that. Oh, there you go. You can see it. Very perfect. Okay, because you guys can see that. Good. You're seeing the Tournament of Champions. Let me close all that out so I don't get any echo here. Perfect. Okay. There we go. Perfect. So you see the Tournament of Champions here. So essentially what it is, you got 16 chefs. You have 8 chefs on each side, east and west, right? You see how those brackets are laid out. And they're seeded 1 through 8 based on how they've performed in previous cooking competitions, okay? And then their general reputation in the business, okay? So the thing that makes this competition really hum is this. This is called the randomizer, okay? So Guy Fieri, before every matchup, goes in and he spins each of these wheels. So there's 5 wheels, right? So you see the titles there: protein, produce, equipment, style, time. He spins these wheels, and whatever comes up, the 2 chefs have to deal with that, okay? So it's pretty interesting, right? This randomizer really controls the nature of the matchup. So imagine March Madness, okay, with basketball, what controls the nature of the matchup more than anything? It's the refs, right? So think of this as kind of the refs and whether or not people are hot and cold, or whether or not the matchup favors what one team does better over another, right? So you could have a high seed playing a low seed, but it's a weird matchup, right? Because the players for the low seed are really, really good in certain positions, and those match up really well against the people that are the high seed. And so the low seed gives the high seed a really bad time. You could have the upset. So this is what you get. The randomizer is it's just evil. It's really evil for the chefs. They hate it. All right. So the two chefs are matched up against each other. All right. And then there are two what I would call observational chefs. Okay. And they're as I say, they're observing, they're writing down notes, and they're essentially getting ready, because what's going to happen is later on they're going to have to explain to the judges what the chef has done. Okay, so they're observing to make sure the chef is meeting all of these requirements, and then taking notes so they can explain to the judges what was done by the chef. Okay, so this is called the randomizer, and it's brutal. It's really brutal. Okay, so there are three judges who come in after the cooking is done, right? So you see there's protein, produce, equipment, style, and time. So the chefs have that amount of time to complete the meal and basically place the meal, like they have place settings, right? Each chef has like 3 plus place settings, and they need to place their dish, 3 dishes in each of the place settings. 3 judges come out, and they will critique and they will score the chefs in 3 categories. All right, they'll critique them in taste, execution, and presentation. Those 3 categories are meant to be a total of 100 points. So taste is 50 points, execution is 30 points, presentation is 20 points. That equals 100 points. The judging is blind. It's completely blind. This is a Food Network show. It's completely blind. The judges come out. They have no idea who the chefs are. Okay, maybe they have some idea who the group of chefs are, but they have no idea who the specific chefs are in that particular moment. Okay, there's 2 chefs. They have no clue. So they come out. The observational chefs give their explanation about the dish and the preparation to the judges. The judges, eat it. They talk about it. The chefs that cooked, when they're done, they go back to their respective separate green rooms, and then they're watching on a flat screen while these people tear their meals apart. Okay. Now, generally speaking, the judges are fairly complimentary of most of the meal structure. Okay. Their critiques will usually be something along the lines of, well, this isn't quite cooked well enough, or the pasta, the rice, the couscous, whatever, is a little too al dente, or I would have liked to seen this, or it was a little too spicy, or it wasn't smoky enough. So they'll give little critiques like that. But generally speaking, overall, they'll be generally complimentary of the meal, right? Because usually the chefs are good at what they're doing, so it's not like the meal is going to be shit, okay? But then the judges will have like critiques of like, I didn't really care for this. But man, when you hear a chef say, I'd serve this in my restaurant, or I would order this in a restaurant, then that's like very high compliment, okay? So we get into the matchups, all right? So the first matchup was from the West, okay? So the first matchup was the West. Antonia Lofaso against Marcel Vigneron, okay? And Vigneron, however they pronounce that. Now you can see here that the number 1 seed was Antonio, the number 8 seed was Marcel, and Antonia won this matchup, not by a lot, right? But you can see the three categories right there. So their matchup was based on this, okay? The protein was cod, the produce was avocados, the equipment was microwave, the style was sweet, and they had 30 minutes, okay? So both chefs, their dishes, I wouldn't say were drastically like different per se. Um, but you can see that taste and execution, Antonia is where she got her points there. Okay, so she moved on. This is first round. So the second matchup stayed in the West, and it was the number 3 seed Eric Greenspan versus the number 6 seed Jet Tila. And this matchup really gave us a glimpse into what we could expect from the rest of the first round, okay? And if you're a regular March Madness person, imagine 2/3 of the bad seeds, the lower, the higher, lower seed, whatever, imagine the 6 and the 7 and the 8 seeds and the 12 seeds and the whatever winning most of those matchups, right? So that's what really turned into, that's really what happened in this setup. So Eric Greenspan and Jet Tila, they were getting, now these were pretty high scores right here that we're looking at. So remember the top level is 100 points, right? So you looked at this, you go, wow, those are pretty good scores, right? Anything over 90 is a pretty good score, right? So Eric and Jet, they got their choices on the randomizer were top sirloin, mushrooms, the equipment was a juicer, the style was smoky, and they had 35 minutes. And what happened was Greenspan screwed up the smoky, okay? He only lost by a point on the taste, but that was the thing multiple judges talked about, was the smoky, okay? That was the thing. And what you see here with the randomizer, you're going to see really quick the pattern with the randomizer. The thing that will screw people up the quickest is the protein and produce combo, or it will be the equipment, all right? The style got a couple of people, but really it was the protein produce combo and the equipment that caused the problem with most of the with the chefs, okay? So you can see here, this is our first upset. Jet Tila was the number 6 seed in the West, and he won somewhat closely over Eric Greenspan. And what's interesting is these two, it's a small world. Being a chef's a small world. These cooking competitions, it's a small world. And several of these chefs knew each other, okay? And in this case, these guys were actually friendly, right? So it was fascinating. It was definitely fascinating to watch the interaction between the chefs. Some of them really competitive, like I want to crush you type of thing. But like in this case, where these guys knew each other, I mean, they hugged it out. It was pretty interesting. But you can see here, Jet Tila, he advances first round. He advances. Okay, so the next round or the next matchup, we went over to the East. We went to the East bracket, and this was the number 1 seed Alex Guarnaschelli against number 8 seed Darnell Ferguson. And this was really the first example of where the equipment absolutely ruined somebody, okay? And you can see here Darnell with the first huge upset, okay? Huge upset just by a point over Alex. Notice the scores, okay? After we saw 2 really high scores in the very first matchup, you're seeing scores now down in the 70s, mid to lower 70s, okay? So these are not getting judged very well based on what we saw in the very first matchup. Now, who knows how they filmed this? If, the first thing they showed us was the first thing they filmed and the judges were kind of going against that, they had kind of a level they set. Who knows how that's working, right? We don't know necessarily how this was filmed. You can see that Alex won the taste thing, but execution, Darnell got more points for how he pulled off each step, right? And so the steps were pork tenderloin, peas, waffle iron, glazed in 35 minutes, and the difference maker here was the waffle iron. Alex tried to do kind of a quesadilla in the waffle iron, and it was a complete disaster. It stuck to everything. She was like having to dig it out of the waffle iron, and that ended up being the thing that clipped her in the execution. It cost her because you can see she won on taste, but she lost on execution because of the waffle iron situation, right? So you can see one little thing can really throw somebody off, right? So next matchup, we continued in the East bracket, okay, and it was the number 2 seed, and this is where we started our trend, right? We started it with the 6 upset the 3 in the West. We get the 8 upsets the 1 in the East, and then we get a number 2 versus number 7 in the East. And the ingredients, the setup was the produce is shrimp, or not the produce, the protein is shrimp, the produce is carrots. The equipment is a mandolin. If you don't know what that is, it's where you're slicing the whatever you're doing, you're slicing it on like kind of a board, right? And swiping back and forth and slicing on a board. And the style was stuffed and 35 minutes. And both chefs, when they saw stuffed and they looked at this, they were like, what the hell are we going to stuff? We got shrimp and carrots, right? So Mark Murphy did he made a really good move, okay? But it's interesting that he got hit on execution, okay? Because what he did is he took a tomato, because the chefs aren't stuck with, you're not limited to just those 5 things. You can now add things to the protein and the produce and all that. You can add other stuff. And Mark Murphy took a tomato and stuffed the tomato with, shrimp, and they had the carrots sliced and all that. So he got, it's kind of the same thing as the previous matchup, right? He wins on taste, but somehow he loses on the execution. You see that same 1-point difference there on the taste, 2-point difference on the execution, swings it to the underdog. So Christian Petroni, the number 7 seed in the East, pulls the upset here and moves on, okay? So then the next matchup was still in the East, and we had a number 4 versus number 5. Now, at this point, we've had no blowouts, okay? And what happened in this next matchup was our first, what I would call a blowout, all right? So we had number 4, we had Amanda Freitag versus number 5, Elizabeth Faulkner, okay? And their setup was a pork blade steak, a squash, a French fry press. The style was sour, and they had 40 minutes. So for the first time, they had 40 minutes, okay? So that was the most amount of time they've had up to this point to prepare a meal. And Freitag, I think, tipped the scale with her use of the French fry press, where she didn't just make actual French fries, she also made, now I would call them zucchini fries, she called them zoodles, okay? Because I don't think she fried, I don't recall that she fried them in the competition, so she called them zoodles, but she essentially took zucchinis and put them through the French fry press also. And so she ended up blowing out Elizabeth Faulkner by 10 points. That's a pretty taste, execution, like she won in all 3 categories. That was a very significant win for the number 4 seed there. So, by the way, both number 4 seeds in each side won. Those were 2 of the higher seed wins, okay? Only outside of the 2 4 seeds, only one other higher seed won in the first round. So out of the 8 matchups, 5 of the lower seeds won, which was very fascinating to me, right? So our next matchup, we go back to the West. And this is the West number 4 versus the West number 5, Bo McMillin versus Richard Blaze. All right, and they had ground lamb. Okay, the produce was broccoli. The equipment was a fryer, but the style was grilled, and they had 30 minutes. Okay, now I don't remember a lot about this. I remember one of them fried the broccoli. I can't remember a lot about the rest of that. This was a fairly close competition. And you can see that the number 4 seed, Bo McMillin, wins, pretty much won on taste, right? He got a point on presentation, but he won on taste for the most part. He got his 4-part clearance there on taste. So he moved forward. Again, these guys know each other. It was very fascinating to watch these people as they come out because they're familiar with each other, right? So now we've got 2 matchups left for the first round. Okay, so essentially think about this like March Madness. This tournament started in the Sweet 16. That's where we're at. We're at the Sweet 16. So we get 8 matchups in the Sweet 16. We've got 2 left. Okay, so we go back to the West, and I thought the West was one of the most fascinating, right? So you had the number 2 seed, Michael Voltaggio, versus number 7 seed, Brooke Williamson, okay? And Brooke Williamson, as Guy Fieri takes him over to the randomizer, Brooke is like, please don't give me chicken breast. Oh, my God, chicken breast. And then later, they right after they spin the randomizer, they show a clip of Voltaggio talking about how chicken breast is like bland, it's boring, right? What you have to freaking marinate a chicken breast for like a day, right, or several hours in order to get anything out of it. It's very bland, and of course, given that they both hate chicken breast, the randomizer gave them chicken breast, radish for the produce, a pastry bag for the equipment. The style had to be spicy, and they only had 30 minutes. Guy Fieri looked at the thing and he goes, quote, on the level of terrible, that's a 9. And both of the chefs, literally, when they showed them, you could see it on their face. They were like, shit. They did not like this setup. And that's where the randomizer is just evil, right? It can take a really good chef and throw them a curve that they're not ready for, which totally opens the door to the underdog chef, right? So they did their thing, and what's fascinating about this matchup, right, is as much as both chefs hated this combination, I want you to look at these scores. Look at those scores, all right? I mean, this is ridiculous. Brooke Williamson, the number 7 seed, that is the highest score by 4 points in the first round. Okay, highest score in the first round by 4 points. Voltaggio, that's like I think that was like the 4th or 5th highest score in the 5th highest score in the first round. He lost. There's 16 participants. That's the 5th best score in the first round. And he lost. Okay? That randomizer thing can just blow everything up. And Brooke pulled it off. So in this case, you see a 45 on taste. Voltaggio did really well. But Williamson she knocked it out of the park, right? She knocked it out of the park. I think what she ended up doing, she ended up frying her chicken breast, I think. I think she ended up pan frying or something like that, her chicken breast, which got some more flavor into it. And that's part of what helped her out. So then our last matchup for the first round goes back to the East. And this is number 3. This was the only chef in the first round who I recognized his name. Okay. So in the first round, you got the East. You have the number 3 seed, Rocco DiSpirito, who's the only guy I recognize his name. versus the number 6 seed, and who knows if I'm butchering this name, Maneet Chauhan. Okay, she's Indian or Pakistani descent. Rocco comes in as the number 3, and this would end up being only the second blowout, what I would consider the blowout. This, to me, a 6-point spread is not necessarily a blowout because you can accumulate, several points over, several categories. But if you're beating somebody by 10 points, that's a blowout, right? So their combo for this matchup was chicken thighs, kale. The equipment was a panini press. The style was smothered, and they only had 30 minutes, okay? Now, I would say this combo is probably better than the chicken breast combo as far as what you could do with it. I think the panini press definitely gave you some options to do things there, and as well as the kale. Kale's very flavorful and smothered. You can make some type of a sauce, and really, cover it. So I didn't think this was a bad mix of ingredients, but again, the lower seed blew it out of the park. Look at this, a 10-point victory. That's a blowout in this competition, okay? So I'm trying to remember, I think Rocco, there was something about what he did on the taste that didn't work, right? And I don't remember what it was, and I apologize. This is all done kind of last minute. I didn't kind of watch every little detail of it and give you what they made and all that stuff. If you want that, watch the damn show. But yeah, Rocco screwed something up on the taste that I think it had to do with the smothered part of it. That the chefs didn't like. And so that took care of that. So if we look at the first round scores, right, I can't show you on the screen, but if we look at the first round scores, the top 4 scores all won their matches, right? So the top score was 96. That was the number 7 seed Williamson. Lofaso, a number 1 seed. She won with a score of 92, and also with a score of 92 is Freitag, who I think was who was Freitag? Was she a 3 or a 4? Let's see here. Freitag was a 4, right? She was a number 4 matchup. So those are the 3. Those guys. Whoops. Don't want to give that away. So when we look at the scores, 96 was the highest score she won. That was Brooke Williamson. 92 was Lofaso and Freitag, which both won. And then Chauhan, who won this matchup right here with a score of 91. And then you add Voltaggio and Vigneron with scores of 90 and 89. Those are the 5th and 6th highest scores out of the 16 participants in the first round. They lost. The 5th and 6th highest scores lost. So this is very much like March Madness, right? You run into a lower seed who's hot, right? Or you get a weird game where maybe a player gets hurt or the refs are a little strange or something, right? The 7th highest score in 85 by Petroni won, but the 8th and the 9th scores lost. The number 10 score won, the number 12 score won, and the number 14 score won, okay, out of 16. So it was really about the matchups. You could do a really good job, and then you just get matched up against somebody who's hot, right? And it's just a bad day, bad luck for you, okay? So then during the third show, they finished up the first round, and then they were able to actually do the first round of the Elite 8, okay? The first round of the Elite 8 was the only number 1 seed to advance, Antonia Lofaso, going against a number 4 seed, Bo McMillan, okay? Their options were ridiculous, all right? The protein was quail, a gamey bird. Their produce was bok choy, right, an Asian style produce. Their equipment was mortar and pestle, so they had to basically grind something, right? Their style was European, so they had a freaking Asian style produce, bok choy, that they had to do it. They had to cook it in a European style, right? But they had 40 minutes. Okay, they had 40 minutes to do it, and this was no competition. This was the biggest blowout, and it's really why I'm picking Lofaso to win. She has been her first 2 rounds, a score of 92, and this score of 96. She has shown incredible versatility, right? Her cooking style, like she's just not, she is unencumbered by boundaries. She's thinking out of the box. And just, I mean, nothing has stopped her from coming up with something that just looks spectacular and apparently tastes spectacular, right? I mean, if you look at this, she was 4 points from perfection, right? 1 point in taste, 1 point in execution, 2 points in presentation. All right. That ties for the highest score in the competition so far. So anyway, it continues next week. It's on the Food Network. If you don't have a chance to watch this, I mean, you gotta catch up. Watch it. Watch the reruns of it if you can stream it. It's just fantastic. I just think it's a brilliant show. Let's see if we can turn off the display capture so that we don't get all this nonsense. I don't think we can. I don't think we can. Let's see if we can maybe. There you go. We'll do that. So it's a great show. If you're missing March Madness or the Frozen Four or the wrestling NCAA championships, put this thing on. It is a good show. It's quick, goes very quick, right? They don't dally around a whole lot. Watching the chefs prepare and watching the judges judge without them being in the same space is pretty interesting. They show the chefs in their respective green rooms watching the judges critique their meals, and it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. There's one woman, they do switch the judge group, so it's not the same 3 judges the entire time. But there's one woman in the judges group. There's an Asian guy and what I would call probably like an Indian Pakistani guy maybe, and then a woman. And I don't know nationality-wise what she might be, but she generally goes last among those 3. And the first 2 are usually fairly complimentary. They might throw in a, this was a little al dente, this wasn't cooked the way I'd like it type of thing. But the woman, I've only heard her maybe once start with a compliment, right? She'll usually, and she's tough. She's tough, and it's a great watch. I will be continuing to live tweet this nonsense because we really don't have anything else to do. This is serious enough, folks. So besides the cooking competition nonsense here, this is serious enough. Don't be idiots, okay? Act like you have the virus and you don't want to spread it to people. We have neighbors here in our complex that have offered to have us over, or my wife said maybe we'll have them over, and I'm telling them no. How long has it been? If 2 weeks is your window, right? How long has it been since you've been around other people or you've been in an environment where maybe you could be exposed? My wife, up until, today was the last day that she's actually going into work. Okay. And she'd been going in the last couple of days was appointment only, quote unquote. Today, the Connecticut governor announced shelter in place. So stay home for non-essential stuff. And, so 2 weeks from today, my wife should be free and clear, right? Same as us. My son who's been home, me I work from home anyway, but we're exposed to her. So whatever she's exposed to, we're exposed to. I won't even let her parents come over for dinner. I don't like going over to their place. We're the primary caretakers. So if there's something that's too heavy for them to lift, we pick food up at the store. If we take that over there, I'm like paranoid. I'm wiping anything down that I touch. I'm like, don't get away from me. I'm not giving you a hug and a kiss. They're in their 80s. And if you think about this, right, I am actually in a higher risk age profile. Okay. Now I'm in my 50 to 59 range, but I just turned 58. So I'm pretty close to the 60 to 69 range, right? And the chances that you're going to die, if that's a big if you contract the virus from the 50 group to the 60 group, goes from like 1.3% to like 4.8%. It's a huge jump. So even though I don't really have any underlying conditions, I deal with a little asthma, seasonally. I can get a sinus infection fairly easily during, what I would call allergy season for me, which is more later in the year in the fall. But I'm definitely edging towards an age group that has a higher risk. So listen, going to a grocery store, you're going to be able to do, get gas, you're going to be able to do. If you don't have to be around people, don't be around people. When you go to a grocery store, you know how folks will pick through the milk cartons to find the latest date? Or they'll look through a prepared thing like chicken salad and stuff, trying to find bread, trying to find the thing with the latest date. You're touching shit, you idiots. You're touching things that other people are going to touch. And I don't care if you wear gloves to the grocery store. If you wear gloves to the grocery store, you're touching something over here, you're going to end up touching something over there. So if somebody else touched it and then you touched it and then you go over here and touch this, I know that sounds paranoid, but that's how you have to think about this, okay? One of the biggest concerns you have here is there is no vaccine to help inhibit the spread. Why do we just accept that so many people are going to die every year from the flu? Because we know that's the cap, okay? Because we know enough people are getting the vaccine that it inhibits the spread. And the people that will die from the regular flu are people who don't get the vaccine, who have an underlying condition, or people who catch a strain of the flu that isn't impacted by the vaccine, which is kind of nominal, okay? So we're willing to deal with that because we kind of know that's going to be the cap. In this particular case, there's nothing to stop the spread other than eliminating human-to-human transmission. What is hard about that to understand? You morons, okay? So stay the hell away from people. You got all the tools around you in the world to stream crap, be online, FaceTime with people. I'm doing this crap right here. Stay the hell away from other human beings. My wife and I walk our dogs tonight. We walked by other human beings. We stayed away from them, but we're outside. It was a beautiful day. Go outside, okay? Just stay away from people. Our neighbors who we're very good friends with, I sat out in our courtyard having a couple of drinks with them. They were a good 10 feet away as we were bullshitting, but they were there and we were socializing. Don't be victims, okay? Be intelligent. There are ways to go about this. so you don't needlessly expose yourself and then other people. Okay? Anyway, there you go. I'll continue to live tweet about nonsense. Australian rules football is happening. Mason Cox had a decent game. Who knows how long that's going to go on? There were no fans in the stands. So I'm assuming that that's going to get shut down fairly soon. But they just had a nice match. So take advantage of whatever you can. Use the tools available to you. Be careful. Be safe. Be smart. All right? Love you guys. We'll be on here again. Hope you enjoyed that. Take care.